You can't talk about college basketball without talking about Duke. The Blue Devils have had the third most first-round picks come out of their school in NBA history, and along with their 5 national championships, 2 coming in the past decade, Duke basketball is perhaps becoming the most notable program in the country. While the program is somewhat notorious for producing players who are later seen as better in college than the NBA, there have been dozens of talented NBA players who spend the better part of their college days in Durham, North Carolina. Today, we're talking about the best Duke basketball players of all time. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe below. Without further ado, Coach K's Blue Devils. Number 11. Luol Deng. Remember Luol Deng? The combo forward who became a second option for that tough Chicago Bulls team has become more infamous for his atrocious contract extension taken on by the Lakers rather than his career as a solid NBA starter. But Deng was an NBA-ready contributor from the jump, putting up solid enough numbers to earn himself a first-team All-Rookie selection. And things only got better from there, as Deng never slipped below 14 points per game until a decade later, hovering near 20 points per game for multiple seasons while playing stellar wing defense, earning himself an All-Defensive selection in 2012 and 2 All-Star appearances. If it weren't for the likes of LeBron James and the Miami Heat, Deng and the Big Three, consisting of Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, and himself, would have had a real chance at winning an NBA title. Even as the Bulls started to devolve and Deng found himself on the Heat, he was always a solid wing who could benefit any team. Number 10. J.J. Redick. J.J. Redick had one of the best runs the Duke Blue Devils have ever seen, wreaking havoc on opposing schools and having all Duke naysayers hating his guts. Those same naysayers would be glad to hear that Redick hasn't lived up to that same reputation during his NBA career, but he has been a fundamental piece to several teams, especially since the turn of the three-point revolution. While he reached the finals with the Orlando Magic in 2009, it was solely on the shoulders of Dwight Howard. Where Redick really found his home was with the LA Clippers and the Lob City pairing of Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, and Chris Paul. With the lob threat at the rim and CP3 with the rock in his hand, Redick was able to roam the perimeter and drill countless threes as the defenders sagged off. JJ scored no less than 15 points per game in his 4 years with the Clippers, and went on to improve to a career-high 18 points per game with the 76ers 2 years ago. It really is a testament to JJ Redick's value to a team that last year was the first of his career that his team did not make the playoffs. Number 9. Christian Laettner. Now that we've mentioned one of the greatest Duke careers ever, we have to mention the other, Christian Laettner. Laettner was a beast for the Blue Devils. Much like Redick, Laettner was adored by those in Durham, but absolutely reviled everywhere else. Nevertheless, he went on one of the greatest NCAA tears ever, winning back-to-back national championships, Player of the Year, and an incredible buzzer beater for the ages. Laettner was such a killer at Duke, he actually beat out Shaquille O'Neal for that Dream Team spot. Unlike Shaq, however, Laettner did not dominate the NBA like he did the NCAA. But he was also no bust, not at first at least. Laettner put up 18 points per game as a rookie, albeit for the fairly new and struggling Timberwolves. But he kept that uptick in scoring all the way to an All-Star game for the Atlanta Hawks down the road. Laettner may have not been the dominant force that Shaq was, but he had a solid post-up game, a workable jumper, and a real ability to score. What went wrong for Laettner was probably on our end. The expectations made after a college career like that are hard for anyone to live up to, especially when you have the giant cloud of getting picked for the Dream Team over Shaq looming over you. Number 8. Zion Williamson. This was a weird one to judge. On one hand, it's very easy to see Zion leaping the next 5 entries on this list, but on the other hand, this is only his second year in the league and it seems unfair to put him ahead of players who have had full, successful careers. Duke seemed like an unnecessary bureaucratic stop between high school and the NBA for Zion. The 280-pound phenom has been making people seem weak since high school, and so far, not much is changing in the NBA. His first season in the league, while short, was very promising in the eyes of Pelicans fans, and this season has shown why. Putting up 25 points, 7 rebounds, and 3.5 assists per game on 60% shooting earned Zion his very first All-Star appearance, and for good reason. The 20-year-old has been making grown men look small as he flies to the rim, bouncing defenders off of him left and right. Zion has the ability to get buckets and boards, but what Pelicans fans will look out for next is if he can will his team into the playoffs in the loaded Western Conference. Number 7. Jason Tatum. Much like Zion, Jason Tatum is sure to climb this ladder as his career progresses, but this is the line you reach when you're only 4 years into the league. But being only 4 years into the league, Tatum already looks like a superstar and the best player from that 2017 draft. He's increased his scoring averages in each year he's played, and while the Celtics are struggling this year, he is their clear #1 option and earned his first All-Star nod alongside teammate Jaylen Brown. Most notably, however, Tatum's performance in the playoffs in only his first season in the league, upping his scoring average to 18 a game, and with an injured but hungry Celtics team, brought LeBron and the Cavs to 7 games in the conference finals. In due time, Tatum will earn his place as one of the top-tier wings in the league and surely move toward the top of this list. Number 6. Corey Maggette. Corey Maggette doesn't get a lot of love when talking about the wing players of the 2000s. Sure, he had some struggles with inefficiency and poor defense, but Maggette was a certified bucket getter for almost a decade. After his breakout season with the Clippers in the 2003 season, Maggette averaged over 20 points per game 3 separate times and hovered around the 20-point mark for the rest of his time there. While the team never really saw too much success, that Clipper squad heavily relied on Maggette for their offensive output, allowing him the 7th best offensive win shares in the entire league back in the 2004 season. Maybe a deserved All-Star appearance would have put Corey Maggette on the map when we look back at the best bucket getters of the 2000s. Number 5. Carlos Boozer. Before there was Zion, there was Carlos Boozer. The only thing they have in common is that they are stocky power forwards, but it seems like all people remember Boozer for now is that guy who threw up bricks for the Lakers and Bulls and once literally painted hair on top of his head. But to only recognize that would be discounting how dominant Boozer was alongside Deron Williams for the Utah Jazz. Boozer put up 2 solid first years in the league before being moved to Jazz and starting his prime. With one of the best post-up games in the league, a solid mid-range jumper, and a tough style of play, Boozer was a real threat on the floor for many years to come. Putting up 21 points and 11 boards per game got him 2 All-Star selections in the late 2000s, and that tough Jazz team even made it to the conference finals back in 2007, only to lose to the eventual champion Spurs. Even into his early days with the Bulls, Boozer may have been out of his prime, but he was a solid starter on another team that reached the conference finals. Number 4. Shane Battier. Shane Battier may not have the numbers that look like he should be this high on the list, but he's got maximum effort and team value on his side. Surprisingly, Battier's career high in points per game came during his rookie season with the Memphis Grizzlies, but that doesn't mean his team value dropped off any as time went on. His value on offense was always a spot-up shooter and the occasional slasher, and he never really tried to redefine that role for himself. Battier's real shining attribute was his stellar defensive. He would take every charge he could, get his hand in the shooter's face on every shot, and dive for every loose ball. That kind of maximum effort made sure that Battier never had a negative plus-minus season in his entire career. And while he played with T-Mac and Yao on that fun-to-watch Rockets team, Battier's play never really saw a lot of eyes until he became the glue guy for the Big Three Miami Heat. He may have not been putting up great numbers, but he was the best corner three-pointer shooter in the league for a while. Locked down on the defensive end of the floor and hit a huge 6 threes in Game 7 of the 2013 NBA Finals to help the Heat win their 2nd consecutive championship. Number 3. Elton Brand. It seems like Duke has a tendency to produce unappreciated NBA talent, because that's exactly what Elton Brand is. Elton Brand had a stretch where he was a top 5 power forward in the league for nearly a decade. Amazingly enough, that prime started during his rookie season, where the number 1 overall pick averaged 20 and 10 in his very first year in the league. Even though his Chicago Bulls were downright dreadful during that time, Brand's win shares were among the highest in the league, showing he earned them every victory they had. But it wasn't until Brand landed with the Clippers that he hit the top of his prime. The gritty back-to-the-basket power forward averaged just over 20 and 10 during his 7 years with the team, the best of which was a 24-11 season in which he saw his 2nd trip to the All-Star game. Brand was never able to do much with the lackluster support he had around him, but for the better part of a decade, he was consistently the best player on his team. Number 2. Grant Hill. One of the greatest what-ifs in NBA history, Grant Hill was a scary opponent to be going against in the mid-90s. Coming off a great career at Duke and showing out for the Detroit Pistons, Hill was heralded as the next replacement to Jordan, and nobody really seemed to have a problem with it. Through the first 6 years of his career, he averaged over 21 points, nearly 8 rebounds, and 6 assists a game. He had a nearly unstoppable crossover and was creating a reliable jumper, all the while being a defensive stopper on the wing. He was looking to be not only a superstar, but one of the best in the league. The only problem was his ankles. Hill's ankles betrayed him at his best and essentially took away 3 seasons of his career, as he only played 47 games over that stretch. He was able to get healthy after that, but he was never anywhere near his old self. But nevertheless, Hill became a solid role player for teams, knocking down the 3-ball and playing great wing defense. If only his ankles could have held up, Grant Hill would certainly be number 1 on this list. Number 1. Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving has been working his name up this list for the past 8 years, and I think it's fair he finally takes the top spot. Coming in as a number 1 pick his rookie year, despite playing only 11 games at Duke, Irving had a lot to prove, and he didn't let down. He was the clear Rookie of the Year and started putting up 20 points per game almost immediately for the Cavs. Since then, Kyrie has established himself as the best ball handler this league has seen, a deadly shooter and finisher, and an NBA champion, hitting one of the most important shots in NBA history. Since then, a lot of the narrative around Kyrie has been shrouded in drama, but he's proven time and time again that he's a baller and he'll always show out. Now with a stacked team in the Nets, NBA fans eagerly await how he'll fare come playoff time. That's it for today. Did we miss anyone? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep bringing you content like this. Have an awesome day.